someone being harmful when they play the game at work to help you? Or are you not receiving the type of allyship that you would give? Legitimate question, would love to hear your thoughts, because this is something that I wrestle with a lot as someone who researches the unwritten rules of work and as a white person in general. One of my LinkedIn posts this week was about why people don't intervene with workplace bullying. And it was based on a conversation we had in one of my group coaching sessions in school, where someone who was a tenured professor said she wondered why people with tenure didn't speak up more. And then she learned it's because they're bullied. Like, why don't they speak up against oppression and bad practices in academia? And she realized there's so much bullying to try to keep people in place. I made a post about, like, this is why bullying is harmful. We need more policies and effective strategies for it. That's why I'm doing a workplace bullying course in my school. And someone who I assume is an academic said that they can confirm that when tenured professors stand up against abuse, they pay for it, they get iced out by colleagues, excluded from opportunities, can't supervise students, etc. But they also said that they have seen one tenured professor help people who are bullied, but never standing up for them in front of colleagues, but rather helping them quietly behind the scenes and helping get things done. But the bullies didn't know they were doing it. And I was like, well, at least they're doing something even if they're playing politics. And she said it took her a while to appreciate that. And this already got me thinking about all the situations I've been where someone had to say something. And, like many people, I relate to the story of the Emperor's New Clothes, where the child is the one who's like, why is he naked, right? And everybody else just goes with it. So I've definitely spoken up directly, but it doesn't always go well. I've always been a very direct, call people out type of person, and it has not always been effective. It has not always gone well. And something that I've learned as I've grown and been in different environments is applying different skill sets in different situations. And I wondered, when people don't speak up for us in the way we want them to, is that inherently a problem? Or is that we are not seeing them do what we want them to, and our view is limited on what they are able to do? Or maybe it's overblown. We think they have more power than they think they do. Or is it that we didn't even know to consider other options and they have other options as well? And it wasn't long before somebody else commented that operating within the system and using, they said directly, the master's tools is perpetrating the oppression. And I've absolutely been in that mindset before. The problem is, in some situations, I will stand by it, and in other situations, it has only backfired. And I just commented back, I, on a theoretical lens, agree with you, and yet I also understand that some people can't risk losing their jobs. All right, like tenure is a little different of a situation. You're not gonna be fired, but you could also be impacted in other ways. And this reminded me of a time where I was in a work environment where I was brought on as a new manager, and they had so many issues that obviously I didn't know about till I got there. And by the time I got there, they already all hated each other. There was a lot going on, a very toxic work environment, people accusing each other of a lot of things, and a lot of it justified. And being so new to the environment and still getting a sense of what was going on, as the only IO psychologist in the whole team, I was asked a lot about personnel decisions. And I remember the executives immediately asking me, should we fire everyone who is being a problem? This was also during an economic downturn, so there were incentives. And, I walked them through my analysis. I was like, is it more cost effective? Are we going to be able to find these same skill sets and the same experience with the knowledge for the same price that we are spending right now? And ultimately they decided no. And of course I didn't go broadcast that to everyone, because then I look like the hero complex, which is gross. And so I just went about my business and noticing what's going on and implementing on the other side of okay, we're hearing we have a lot of these problems. We need to adjust training this way. We need to adjust hiring this way. We need to make sure we're assessing performance more accurately. But I wasn't doing the other things the employees were doing, like sending mass emails to everyone, contacting stakeholders about issues, threatening to quit, etc. I did not look like I was being an ally. And it didn't spare me from being lumped in with everyone who had been a problem since before I got there. And I'm no angel. I don't claim to be. Not every call I made was a good one. But I do know in that specific situation that I kept a lot of people employed during a very hard time, and the organization was able to keep running because it did need the knowledge. And I did move it forward in a way that measurably impacted reducing our turnover significantly. So from an industrial organizational psychology standpoint, that is a win-win. And that does not mean the other forms of protest are not important, because if they had not been so loud, I don't know that I would have known, especially not as quickly coming in, what the problems were. And I know that wasn't their first response. They had been voicing complaints to their leadership for a while and they were done. So acts of protest that are more visible are important. And listening the first few times saves you from an escalated response. But in that situation, I thought I was much more effective than in other times where I have popped off. And that does not mean I regret every single one. Okay? So my question to you is, how important is purity over effectiveness? And how important is your skill set versus someone else's skill set? Because I think we should listen to people because they know what they need. And yet also we all have perspectives and different skills that might bring a goal closer and within reach. There's a lot of talk right now about like purity politics. And I do think in some cases people want to not take action, or to be very vocal but not actually take action, from they actually want somebody else to move things forward, and they want to be able to sit on their high horse and say, well, I didn't make any concessions like you did. It's like, yeah, that's great, but you also didn't make things better. But then also their voice might be the reason that you decided to take action. So what are your thoughts?